Hey guys, in this video, let us see a simple example of response entity. Response entity is a class. It has got headers, status and body part. So, you can use this response entity as a return type for your REST endpoints. Usually, in REST APIs, we have the return type of REST endpoints as string, integer, list of objects, set of objects, or any user-defined object. This will be returned as a response to the client. Together with that, the client also will receive the default headers and the default status code. So, if you want to add custom headers and status code to your response, then you can go in for response entity class. This response entity can be used as a return type to all your REST APIs. You can add your custom headers and status code based on your requirement. Now let us see a simple example of this response entity. Already I have added a video of response entity in detail with a complete explanation of the application. You can watch out there. Here we are going to work only in the controller class. I have got three methods: get all, get by ID and get by brand. For all these methods, I want to have the return type as response entity. These methods are already having the return type as list of product or product. So I need to use it as response entity of list of product or response entity of product. What if my REST API is having a return type as void? In that scenario, how will you use the response entity? That has to be handled in a different way. We will be discussing about that in a different video. So now for the first three methods, let us try to have the return type of our REST API as response entity. So let me start with the first method. It is response entity of list of product. Inside this method, we are calling the getAll method of product service, which returns a list of product. So let me get it in a variable. List of products is equal to product service.getAll. So this will be the body part of your response. Now I need to create a response entity object, add headers, body part and status code and return it from this particular REST endpoint. To create a response entity object, either you can go in for a parameterized constructor or use any static method of response entity. We will try both the methods. To start with, for this method, we can go in for a parameterized constructor. So let us create a response entity object. Response entity of list of product entity equal to new response entity. There are many parameterized constructors available in response entity, wherein you can just pass the status alone, or you can create custom headers and status alone, or send the body part and status. In my case, I want to attach body, headers and status. So I am choosing this particular constructor. The first parameter is the body, the second parameter is the header and the third parameter is the status. So let us add one by one. For the first parameter, let us pass products, which will be the body part of the response. For the second parameter, we need to create our custom header. For that, let us use the HTTP headers class. This HTTP headers class is from ORG framework, so be very careful while importing. HTTP headers equal to new HTTP headers. Let me add my custom header object, HTTP headers.add. It's a name value pair. So give a name and the corresponding value. The name is info. Value, let me give it as getting all products. Let me also add one more custom header. This time let me give the key as description and a different value. Retrieve products from database. So the second parameter in this case is headers object. What about the third parameter? You need to pass the status code or the status value. So for that, we are having a enum as HTTP status. HTTP status dot. There are many status values. Accepted, which is 202. OK, which is 200. Bad request, which is 400. conflict which is 409, created which is 201. So you have to pick and choose the appropriate status code for your REST API. If the response is delivered successfully, then usually we use the status code 200 OK. So let me use the same status code value OK. Now we have created the response entity object. The second parameter is HTTP headers. Let us return the response entity object. Let us move on to the next method. So the return type here is product. We need to convert it into response entity of product. When we call product service.getById, it is going to return me only one product object. So it is product equal to product service.getById. This time let us use the static method of response entity. So in case of the static method of response entity, there are multiple methods available with the help of which you can attach headers, status and body part, or you can simply attach only the status and headers. So you can pick and choose whatever you want, but you need to give it in an appropriate order so that after the method chaining, it again returns a response entity object. So in the first case, let us add response entity dot. There are many methods for our HTTP status like accepted, bad, request. In our case, we want to use OK. So let me call the OK method dot headers. So again we need to create our custom header and pass that as parameter. So let me create the custom headers. We will copy it from the previous one. HTTP headers is equal to new HTTP headers info getting one product by ID plus ID. Within the parameters, let me pass HTTP headers object dot body. So you can see the return type of body is again a response entity object. This is what we want. So select this and pass the parameter as product. And let us add a return statement also. The variable name is product ID. So let me pass it as product ID. Okay. This also can be written in one other manner. Let me show you that also. Return response entity dot status, pass the enum value http status dot OK dot headers, just like how you have used in the parameterize constructor. Pass HTTP headers object dot body and pass the parameter product. So either you can use the first way or write the code in the second way. Let us move on to the next method, get by brand. This also is returning a list of product. So let me copy it from here. Response entity of list of product. And product service dot get by brand is returning a list of product only. So I'll get it in a variable. And here also let us use the static method of response entity. Response entity dot. This time let us go in for some other status code. So let me use accepted dot. I do not want to create any custom header object. So directly I will add the body part. Body and pass products as parameter. Let us have the return statement. In this case, we are using accepted as the status code. Just to show you the difference, I have used accepted. But if you are going to use OK as the status code, OK has a overloaded method where you can pass the body part of the response directly. Let me show you that method also. Return response entity dot OK. It is having a overloaded method within which you can pass the products object directly. Okay. Fine. Now I don't want to use this. I want to use this one only because I want to see the different status code that will be shown in Postman. So let me save this. We have completed all the three methods. Let us start the application. The application has started successfully in port 8080. Now we will go to Postman and test all the three methods. Let me open it. So the first REST endpoint URL is product-api/products. Click send. Now we have got the response. You can see the status code is 200 OK. Now click on the body part of the response. You will see the complete list of products that is coming from the backend. In my case, I am having only 2 products. Now let me click on the headers. We have added two custom headers. One is info, the other one is description. And we are getting the corresponding value that we have added for the headers. Okay. So this is the first one. We'll move on to the next URL. Product ID. Let me check it out. Product ID is 1 and send. This time also we are getting the same status code 200 OK. In the body part we are getting one product by ID. Click on headers. We have added only one custom header info, getting one product by ID 1. The value for product ID is 1. Usually we will not send the ID. Just for understanding I have added. Of course I should have done it for brand. Next is product/brand/del. The last method and this method is using only path variable. Click send. Let me pull this up. You can see we have changed the status code to 202 accepted. By default, if the response is returned successfully, we usually get the default code as 200 OK. But we change it to 202 accepted just for understanding purpose. Of course, we are getting that also. Click on the body part. We are getting the products by brand Dell. In case of headers, we did not add any custom headers. Okay. So this is how we will be using response entity in a REST API. That's all. Thank you.